We need heroes. Like you.
I'm ready.
Captain Marvel.
Effortless, enigmatic, fearless.
Talented, refined, iconic.
Oh, thanks, Bree.
Oh, I was actually just talking about Goose.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, so was I.
Oh, Goose.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. You guys may have seen all the early Captain Marvel reviews started rolling out, so I'll break everything down. We also got a new Avengers trailer sort of comparing her origin to the origin of some of the other Avengers characters, and a funny Goose the Cat promo. Goose is definitely one of the biggest things people came out of the movie talking about. So we'll do an IMAX ticket giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your favorite Captain Marvel moment on the video. These will all be non-spoilery, so no worries about that, and I will only be addressing things that we've seen in the trailers or that the actors have said publicly or Marvel has released information about or Kevin Feige, so no worries there. But you'll be happy to know that the movie opens with a very special Stan Lee tribute because he did pass away, but he had time to film cameos for the next couple of Marvel movies. Like, he already shot his cameos for Spider-Man Far From Home this summer, he shot cameos for Avengers Endgame, so there is a lot of extra special Stan Lee stuff going on. There is a mid-credit scene and a post-credit scene, so stay through the entire credits. No surprise there. It's the last movie building into Avengers Endgame, so it's got the same task as Black Panther did last year, where you have this relatively self-contained origin story for the character. Here's what her tone is like, and here's how she moves and feels differently from the other Avengers, but also here's all the ways that she's connected to them and is able to stand toe-to-toe with them in a way that will enhance their presence during Avengers Endgame when they're fighting Thanos for the last time. The biggest difference between Captain Marvel and the Black Panther movie last year was that we had already gotten the tutorial for Black Panther in Captain America Civil War, so you went into his solo movie already knowing almost all the biggest stuff about him. Captain Marvel kind of has to do all those things while also showing her off for the very first time, so it's a very phase 1 type of debut for a character, like when you met Thor for the first time after seeing the Iron Man movies, like, oh, you see this hammer, but you haven't seen Chris Hemsworth as Thor before his solo movie. The tone of the film is very classic 90s action film. The directors say they were mostly inspired by RoboCop in Terminator 2. RoboCop not so much because of the tone, because it was like a really weird alternate dystopian future, but more because of the storyline of post-RoboCop Murphy trying to remember his past, the way that Captain Marvel loses her memories after the accident that activates her powers, and she spends the movie putting the pieces back together. The movie moves a little bit more like the Terminator 2 movie, so she's sort of like an amalgam of a Kyle Reese and Schwarzenegger Terminator character. Advanced soldier claiming that she's trying to stop this crazy space war that Nick Fury, person on the ground, totally doesn't believe at first until he sees the proof of the Skrulls with his own eyes. Like Sarah Connor in the first Terminator film, or Miles Dyson in Terminator 2. Pretty much everybody came out of the movie being very surprised about how the film wasn't what they expected based on all the marketing and the trailers so far, which at this point for Marvel movies shouldn't be that big of a surprise. But it's not like the big Avengers movies. There aren't any straight up faked shots or false special effects like fake Hulk in Infinity War trailers or anything like that. It's not like they're removing Infinity Gems out of Captain Marvel's suit or putting fake characters in the background of shots or anything like that. So also in keeping with the idea that the trailers don't really convey the scope of the film in its entirety, the other really big surprise was just how big and cosmic the movie went, like full-blown space-based adventure, Guardians of the Galaxy style, that all the clips don't really give you a sense of. Like obviously you see Hala, the Kree homeworld, a little bit, but none of the footage that they showed us do any of that space-based stuff justice. So if you're a really big fan of the cosmic movies, this goes full cosmic in a way that'll make you really excited for what they might do with future space-based Marvel movies. And because of all the delays with Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I kind of assumed that they were going to lean into the more cosmic aspects of the MCU with Captain Marvel, but you just don't see that in any of the trailers, so it's kind of hard to tell until you go and actually watch the movie itself. The sheer scope of those parts of the movie also help answer a lot of the questions that all the fans have asking about where Captain Marvel's been this whole time. Why has she been gone the last 20 years while the Avengers have been dealing with all these big threats? So without giving away spoilers, it will be immediately evident just because of what's going on in outer space why she hasn't been around. Really happy to report that Captain Marvel and Nick Fury have great buddy cop chemistry. They'll be fun in present day if they get some scenes together during Avengers Endgame. Obviously, you have to do a couple things before that can happen because Nick Fury is currently a pile of ashes right now, so you have to bring him back. But it would be weird based on the way they set up their story arc and the pager post-credit scene during Infinity War if they don't have another short scene at the end of Avengers Endgame paying that off. Goose the Cat and Ben Mendelsohn's Talos Skrull character steal the show. Not surprised at all about Goose the Cat. Like they have that funny clip of Goose the Cat at the beginning of this, the real star of the movie. Oh, I was talking about Goose the Cat. If you've seen any of the fan art the last month, you kind of get a sense for how hyped up people are about that cat. So don't be surprised if they try to bend over backwards at some point and find a way to justify how that cat is still around 20 years later in present day so that they can put in the Captain Marvel sequel. The directors actually said that early on when they were still working on the script, going back and forth with the studio about notes, they only had a little bit of Cat in the movie. And one of Kevin Feige's early really big notes was, I'm going to need 100% more of that cat. Like that was literally what he said. So there's way more of the cat in the movie that the trailers let on. Like there's obviously a couple of shots from the movie in that cat promo where you see it crawling around that dropship. So if you read the comics, it's not a spoiler to say that the cat is not just a simple Earth cat. You can get some of the funny WTF moments that they use it for, like holy crap surprise, but also really funny stuff too. I was a little surprised by how much people love Talos the Skrull, but Ben Mendelsohn is a great actor. Most of you know him from Star Wars Rogue One. I don't think that his character during Ready Player One was quite as good as his Rogue One character, but he did a fantastic job with the material. Most of you already sense the potential of Skrulls within the MCU, so you can kind of see the beauty of the way his character works during the film and how much fun Ben Mendelsohn has playing a character like that. The best thing I could tell you to prepare for how much fun that character is during the movie is to reread Marvel's Secret Invasion comic book. One of the best things about that comic series is the nuance of how the Skrulls are written, impersonating the other big Avengers characters. In the comedy and the suspense of seeing those really big characters that you love act a little bit weird and not totally knowing whether or not it's really them or if it's a Skrull impersonating them. So they use that to their full advantage during the movie. Like they just turn Ben Mendelsohn loose and he just runs with it. Captain Marvel and Maria Rambeau have a great dynamic together, both when she's Carol Danvers before she gets her powers and then later also after she gets her powers. I've already said how Brie Larson and the producers want to do Miss Marvel in the sequel, so you have Miss Marvel introduced in a Captain Marvel movie. But I would also not be surprised if they try to bring back Lashana Lynch as older Maria Rambeau, who maybe in the last 20 years has just rose through the ranks in the Air Force to become a general of sorts, and her daughter, Monica Rambeau, eventually gets powers like she does in the comics, and either becomes MCU Miss Marvel if they want to swerve on Kamala Khan, or she becomes Photon. But because Kevin Feige did that interview where he claimed that they were planning on doing Kamala Khan Miss Marvel eventually, that unless he says something different between now and the sequel officially starting production, I'm assuming that Monica Rambeau would become the Photon version of her comic book character, because Photon is her mother Maria Rambeau's call sign, so it would make more sense that they pay off that Easter egg. There are a couple of the usual criticisms of Marvel movies. Some of the 90s song choices felt a little obvious and on the nose. There were a few moments in the film that just felt a little out of place pacing-wise with the rest of the film. So really no different from, say, like Thor Ragnarok or Black Panther. Like pretty much all the Marvel movies have a lot of the same criticisms. I don't expect the Captain Marvel movie to quite get the same cultural appreciation that the Black Panther movie got, because it was sort of like this alternative history for an entire race of people that felt very real for them, very obtainable, this very aspirational look at a place that felt very real. Whereas Captain Marvel is largely trading on 90s nostalgia, and even though, like I said, all the cosmic stuff in the movie is really, really cool, that feels very familiar to, say, like what you've seen in Thor Ragnarok and the Guardians of the Galaxy films, so it's not quite as relatable as the Wakanda of it all. So early prediction, Captain Marvel movie does around Thor Ragnarok and Wonder Woman box office numbers, say like around $800+ million, but I don't think it's going to approach $1 billion or more, say like the Black Panther movie, just because the response to that movie was so over the top. The real lesson I think about Captain Marvel is not to prematurely review a movie just based on the marketing in the trailers. Almost all Hollywood movies now, especially Marvel movies, wind up being wildly different than the movie that they sell you with all the trailers. So at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun. It provides a lot of connective tissue between Avengers Infinity War and sort of recontextualizes the history of the MCU during that period in the 90s, which we have not got before. Period films are actually really fun, so I am looking forward to the Eternals movie, which is like the most period movie you could possibly make because it's set eons ago within the MCU, the ancient history of the MCU. I know a lot of you are asking what's going on with Coulson during the movie. They definitely have a lot of fun with Clark Gregg, so it is funny seeing him back after being gone for so long. They've gotten so good with their de-aging technology that by the end of the film, you will completely forget that Samuel L. Jackson is probably the same age as your grandpa. Once you have a chance to see the movie, though, let me know in the comments what you guys think about it. And obviously, once it does come out everywhere, we'll talk about post-credit scenes, the ending of the movie, what's going on with her during Avengers Endgame. March and April are going to be crazy this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. So while you wait for everything, click here for all my Avengers Endgame trailer videos and Easter eggs, and click here for my brand new Spider-Man Far From Home trailer video. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.